JT Cruz is going to become a road warrior on Saturday. I don't know if he'll wear the spikes in the face paint like the old professional wrestlers did, but hey, you never know what type of mood can hit him. Serious question. It's going to sound silly. Do you like going on the road? Because, I mean, you don't have to worry about distractions that you have to worry about at home.
I don't know that I would necessarily say that I prefer being on the road
Sure.
to being at home, right? Like there's something special about playing at your home stadium.
Right.
I think we do have a really good setup at JF at Sabre Stadium. Would I prefer to be at home? Yeah, I would prefer to be at home. Does that necessarily mean that I don't or I'm bothered by going on the road? No, not at all, man.
Right.
I will take my team anywhere, anytime, and feel good about what we're going to do, what we're going to accomplish.
For the record, I didn't
Obviously,
use the word prefer.
well, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. This one comes a little bit more, though, right? Obviously, a little bit longer of a travel than your traditional road trip within the district, and different day that we're playing on, being Saturday at 1 versus typically your Friday at 7 games. And so there's some other things maybe from a distraction nature that you get with this road trip that maybe you wouldn't with a typical home game. But all that being said, I feel really, really good about my team's mindset going into this. They understand the purpose, they understand the goal, they understand the mission. And so all the other stuff is just noise. We're going to do what we have to do. We're going to get there 2 hours before kickoff, the same way we do for any other away game. And when we step on the field, we are going to be the best JF football team we can be.
I'm not a coach, but I would say if anybody complains about having to play on Saturday, I would say, do you want to play in the state semifinals? Because they're on Saturday.
And that's kind of the message that we gave to our guys. Look, you start playing in big-time football games, those are going to be on Saturdays. That's just the nature of high school football. The further you go, those games start to move on to Saturday. And so having an opportunity to do that in the second round can hopefully, if things go the way that we plan them to, the way that we hope they will on Saturday, can prepare us for down the road.
Well, on the road topic, how important is it that you guys make your own energy when it's not Sabre Stadium?
Yeah, and that's something, honestly, that we preach to our team even when we're at home, right? It is really, really important for every single person on that team, whether you're on the field or on the sideline. You need to be engaged, you need to be into the game, and you need to be bringing some juice. That is something that I'll tell my guys all the time. Hey, if it's a big third down and we're on defense, I want to hear the sideline amping our defense up. If we make a big play, I want to be able to look over and if I'm rewatching that film the next day, I want to see our sideline, going crazy because we made a big play and we broke up a pass or whatever the case is. Those are the things that I look for when I'm watching film as much as anything else. How in tune are the guys that aren't on the field into the game? They're not there to be a spectator. They're there to be a part of this team and to help us win. And we say it every week. Everybody has their role, and everybody needs to execute their role to the best of their ability.
I talked to Scott Turner at Turner Ashby, and he said, I'm only worried at what's going on inside the fence. And I think that is, obviously you want your crowd to be that 12th man, but if you're worried about what's going on inside the fence, I think that is 90%, maybe even more of the battle right there.
Yeah, I mean, and truthfully, I don't have the brain space to worry about anything that's not going on inside, or anything going on that's not inside the fence, right? I got enough to worry about between the white lines. I can't spare, the brain cells for anything that's going on outside of it.
But if you don't have the brain power to worry about what's going on outside the fence, you almost need to translate that to your players too, of, hey, we can only worry about what's going on inside the fence. Between the hours of 7 and 10, who cares?
Right, exactly. Or in this case, 1 and 4. Exactly. Again, I believe it's a habit. It's old habits die hard. I'll be talking to my team and I'll start talking about Friday night. And I'm like, oh wait, actually, no, we're playing on Saturday. It's just one of them things. But no, I mean, you're right. And again, it's one of those things that you preach to your team. You control what you can control, and don't worry about things that are outside of our control, right? And when you talk about making a long trip, there is a decent chance that maybe some adversity is going to crop up even before we get to John Handley on Saturday, right? Maybe we hit some traffic and we're running behind schedule and we got to get to the school and rush, or any number of things can happen. And those are things that are all outside of your control as a player. And they are not things that you need to concern yourself with, right? If something happens that puts us off schedule on the trip, let the coaches worry about that, man. We'll get that figured out. We'll get it dealt with. Keep your focus, maintain your focus on the task at hand, which is being the best football team we can be when 1 o'clock hits.
How's the week of practice been?
It's been good. It's been good. And again, it's one of those things where playing on a Saturday, your schedule is a little bit different than it is on a typical week where you're playing on Fridays. You get an extra day of practice. And how do you want to handle that extra day, right? Some people would say, well, that's great. We get an extra day. We can go out here and we can get a whole other day of a full practice in. And maybe that's the best thing to do. But also, you're now exposing your team to another day of wear and tear in football practice. And maybe that's not the best thing to do. And so it's kind of finding that fine line between like, yeah, we got to get this work in and we got to take advantage of the extra time that we have. But you also don't want to overcook the steak, I guess would be the metaphor to go with, right? Like I want our guys to be as fresh as possible on Saturday, so I don't want to burn them out with another day of practice, you know.
With that being said, overcook the steak. By the way, I like that. With that being said, how important is it that you keep these guys healthy? And it's getting colder. It's getting
Yeah.
a little damp every now and again. I mean, you don't want kids catching stuff, but at the same time, it's not like you can just throw them inside. How do you balance that?
No, and it's things that you deal with, especially this time of year, right? We dealt with a little bit of sickness issue last week where a couple guys are missing a day or two of practice. We've dealt a little bit with it this week where, Monday we had a guy, key contributor, who wasn't able to be at practice because he was at home and she was sick. And like, if you're legitimately sick, man, yeah, don't come to practice. Like, don't bring what you got here and give it to everybody else, man. Stay home, get yourself healthy, and when you're healthy, come back and rejoin the team. And so again, it's just finding that fine line of what is enough and not going past enough into too much, but also like you got to give them enough. We got to be ready to play on Saturday against a good John Handley team that does some things that we need to be prepared for, that we need to practice against. And it's just constant conversation between myself and my assistant coaches of, hey, what do we want practice to look like today? And even within practice,
Right.
Say we're practicing kickoff, right? Well, like kickoff is one of those things where if you're not paying attention, all of a sudden you've taken some of your best players and you've asked them to run full speed down the field, 60 plus yards, 10 times in a row, right? Like, is that really the best thing for keeping their legs fresh? And so it's just, it's being cognizant and staying on top of all of those things. Well, again, getting the work in that you need to, because you got to get out there and you got to practice kickoff, right? So it's finding that happy medium, and that's it's part of coaching, man. It's a tough thing to do, and every team, every situation is going to be a little bit different week to week.
I would argue you have to be practicing kickoff now to where maybe I don't want to say you can ignore it in week 5, but it's a little bit different than week 5 right now.
Yeah, and that's special teams across the board, right? And you and I talk, pretty much every week. And one of the things that I talk about is we cannot have catastrophic errors on special teams, right? Like if we're going to try and win a big game, you can't have that stuff. And truthfully, if you go back and you look at the 2 games that we've lost this year, each one of those games has had an error on special teams. With the LCA loss, we gave up the opening kick return for a touchdown, which I would classify that as a catastrophic mistake. And then Heritage got a chance to kick a game-winning field goal, and it gets blocked. Right. And so those are things that we got to get cleaned up and get fixed, because you don't get second chances anymore. It is do or die in the playoffs, and every single little play just carries that much more significance.
How good is John Handley?
They're good. They're good. I mean, it's second round playoffs. Everybody's going to be good, right? Like there's no you're not going to face any team that you're just going to go out there and beat by 50 anymore. You're going to have to fight and scratch and claw to go out there and win a game. And this Saturday is going to be no different, right?
Let me rephrase. What do they do well?
They do a lot of things well. We'll talk offensively first. They do a good job of they are consistent in their plan of attack, right? They don't have a huge volume of offense, but they are very, very good at what they do. They've got a good explosive running back. They're big and well coached up front. They do a great job on the outside. They've got 2 receivers that are great, and one that's really, really good, maybe the best that we've seen all year, of creating one-on-one matchups for those guys. And then they take their shots, right? Second and short, you can expect them to go out there and take a shot, especially if they've got their guy in a one-on-one situation. And so they're smart about what they do in their package of offense, and they got answers for pretty much everything that you're going to try and give them on defense. And so it's finding a way to slow that down and contain that and have our own answers defensively. And then on the other side, when we're on offense, they're on defense. They kind of the opposite, right? They do a lot of different things from a front standpoint. They're going to give you a lot of different looks there, coverage wise. They're going to roll safeties. They're going to stay too high. They like to blitz. They like to stunt. They like to move. And so again, it's figuring out, well, how are they trying to defend us, and what are our answers going to be for that, right? And so all of that from a schematic standpoint, and then they got really good personnel too.
Right.
Like I said, they're big up front. They're long in the back end on defense. They're physical and fast at linebacker. I mean, so yeah, I mean they're a really, really quality football team. That again, if you're going to beat them, you got to go out there and you got to earn it.
Let me hit on that receiving core real quick. You said at best we've seen all year. Who's been the best receiving core you've seen this year prior to now?
Truthfully, I mean, there's some like different flavors, right? So we scrimmage Patrick Henry, and they have a guy who's going to Syracuse who's a really, really good, individual player, right? I don't know that they had their full volume of offense in at that point. So like from a concept standpoint, I don't know that they were doing a lot to try and get the ball to different people. It was more just kind of one-on-one shots with that guy. We also scrimmaged Powhatan, who's got a guy going to JMU who was also really, really good. And then you get into the Seminole, and LCA's got a really good passing game with weapons all over the place. Obviously, Heritage, they hit a deep ball on us, and like that kid was so fast, nobody on our team was catching him. And so I don't know if I can point to any singular team and say like that team was by far the best. But just watching film and watching John Handley, the guy that they have there, number 7, who's caught 14, 15 touchdowns on the year, he's really, really good in one-on-one jump ball situations, run good routes, all that stuff. Again, so putting that challenge on our guys.
As you know, there's always a method to my madness, so let me ask it this way. Did you tell your team before one of those other games, hey, this might be the best receiving core we've seen all year, or do you not say that stuff?
Not really. Okay. Not really. Just because, again, I want the focus to be on us, right? I don't want the focus to be on them. Now I did, I talked to my DBs going into this week and say like, hey man, y'all got a challenge ahead of you. Like this is like, turn on the film and watch. Like these guys have a good passing attack because again, they do a good job of creating one-on-one situations for their guys and taking their shots when they get them.
But you're not going to hype it up to where it's the best. And I didn't mean to cut you off. You're not hyping it up to where it's the best guy we've seen all year. You're not saying that to your guys.
No. I mean, again, it's this is the challenge in front of you, and you need to be ready to step up and take this challenge. Not like, oh my God, this kid is so great. Like we're gonna have to do X, Y, and Z to defend it. Like no, and don't get me wrong. Like they're excellent in the passing game. But again, I want the focus to be about us, and I want to alert my guys to like, hey, this is the challenge that you're gonna get this week. How are we gonna step up and handle that? That sort of thing.
Well, I would ask you the keys to the game, but that's a waste of time because they're always the same. So
establish the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, establish our run game, stop the run on defense, no catastrophic errors on special teams, man. There's your formula for winning a high school football game.
Well, how about this? How about the one thing that you guys have to do this week?
I don't know that you can distill a football game down to one thing. I mean, again, the easy thing would be for me to say like, we got to win the line of scrimmage.
Right.
But it ain't going to be just one thing that causes us to win the line of scrimmage, right? There's going to be a lot of different ways in which we have to go out there and execute in order to quote unquote win the line of scrimmage. I would say the most important thing for us this week, maybe not the most important thing, but a very, very important thing is we have to be clean on special teams.
Okay.
We've had some issues the past couple weeks, including last week against EC Glass, particularly with our PAT field goal team. We had one block, we had one missed. And so like those are things that we have to get cleaned up. And again, you and I have had this conversation before. I think the first time we played Glass, we missed a PAT and a 56-0 win. And you and I are sitting here talking about it because we know those are the types of things that when you get into these big time football games, like a second round playoff game is, like that stuff matters as much as anything else. And so I would say that is a very important aspect of this game on Saturdays. We have to be clean on special teams.
At this point, I feel like we've had 100 conversations about so many things. So all I can say
hopefully we have 100 more, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, see you Saturday and best of luck.
That's right. I appreciate you, Bob.